Welcome back to episode, I believe this is episode 9. This is episode 9, Dear Mom series. So last time we were here, price was here. You can see how we came down here. Now, I like precision. I didn't like how this bearish candle closed on top of here, but you can see after that we had a funky day, acting this as an order block, rejecting it, and then digging deep into that stop right here, 97.075, 97.051, and then you can see from there we just took off targeting this high, right? So you can see bullish, bullish, bullish. They went and took out this high as well, unloaded some positions there, as you can see. And now we have come to this week. Let me take this shit off. Why is this one there too? See, we came back inside this order block, right? Got a rejection, came back next day, went through it, and then obviously, ultimately, we tapped into this candle here, and now we're seeing the rejection from it. Now, I am trying to see if this is the last part where they're going to basically unload positions, or I'm liking these two equal highs up here. Ain't gonna lie to y'all, but it all depends how tomorrow is. Tomorrow is Fed rates. Friday is NFP, so expect big candle movements today, tomorrow. I mean, tomorrow, possibly Thursday and Friday. So fun week, fun week. So we did go through a series of losing trades. I believe it was, if I'm mistaken, we had lost. Give me a second. I'll tell you right now. Sheesh. Okay, we were 2-6 pretty much, and yeah, we went into a losing streak. Then the following week, we came back from it like nothing, and then same thing as last week, and then following this week, we didn't take a trade yesterday because end of month, but you can see it moved nicely yesterday actually. Yeah, I wasn't even like, oh my goodness about it, but I can see how it delivered nicely, and then you can see came right back into it, took this high today, right? And we were really keeping our eyes here. And then 10 a.m. happened, and we knew there was news, and it took us. It didn't give us an opportunity. I mean, it did, but we didn't. But let's break it down again, okay? So you see the daily. Okay, let's do this the right way. So now we ran upstairs, right? Created possibly could be a swing high, right? When swing high is forming, fourth candle could be bearish. So we were expecting sells this day. Then we're looking at this fair value gap. You can see Monday drills into it, closes underneath it. So I'm like, okay, my next draw on liquidity, which is the question I asked today. Where is the draw? I like the daily order block. We stopped right before it, pulled back into yesterday's range, which is this, right? Running buy stops, watching the M15 for more price action clarity. M5 was there, but M15 I felt like it was more clarity. If you're bullish, you should respect bearish candles. There's news at 10 a.m. We're not forcing anything, just flowing. I'm favoring sells. So going into 1 hour time frame, right? We get to the charts at 8:45, 9 o'clock, and you can see we had this buy side liquidity that we ran into it at 9, and then news dropped it, right? Ultimately taking out these lows and hitting our objective daily order block, right, to the precision. And dropping into the M15. So when I got to the chart, it was around here, and you can see how we went up, came down, we broke it. I wanted this candle to close a little underneath, and then use this bearish candle as an entry and having a stop off here. You can see at 10 a.m. this should move super fast, and then at 10:45 we we were too hesitant on this trade. We were like, oh, we don't want to risk that much, right? 15 pips on half of that order block, right? 50% of it at least for a stop loss. And you can see it ended up delivering. So we were like, oh, what the fuck? We got up, we walked away. We came back like at 12 and I had seen how we stopped right before the order block. And so we took our entry position from here and we had expansion. I'm like, okay, cool, we're dropping. And then you can see big candle. It takes me out. Stop loss right here. Boom. I was about like minus 15 pips. So what I risked a good trade here, I ended up risking it here. That actually ended up happening. And then when it happened, I was like, what the fuck? And then I'm looking at the M5 and I'm looking at the M15. And it basically it's clear on the well, honestly on the M15, this bearish candle right here, right? And on the M5 you can see it spiked up all the way through here, and I'm like, okay, you're just mitigating probably. And so it's a 5-minute candle. So uh you I saw the spike and then I saw the rejection and how it rejected so fast and it just stayed under this. Once it was getting close to the 5-minute closing, I entered around here. This candle was, attempting, it couldn't, and then before we finally got an expansion, we as soon as we delivered underneath our sell side, touching our order block, we unloaded position 90% of it, and we had our stop loss at at plus 7 pips up here, because we were expecting a more of down movement to my magnet, to my overall target. And you can see price just had other dots and it thought me out the remaining of the position. So we pretty much broke even on the day. But emotions were on point after, this happening, actually realizing, what it likes to do. Because not the first time this shit has done that shit while it's been dropping, it spikes up. Happened like a week or 2 weeks ago. And then I had one of my boys just send me a screenshot. He's like, oh, M30 mitigation block. And it's basically just like the last bearish candle before a push higher that then led to a push lower type shit. So you can see right here, last bearish candle before this push higher, because this bullish candle did break that high, right? And then dropped lower. You can see how it spiked through it. It could do that. And then it also ran by stop. So I was like, okay, if you did that shit, you should drop, and it did. Kudos, perfect. And then yeah, on to the next now, right? So now we're back. We're looking at the H1, and I am looking at price to at least come back up here to this candles. I don't want it to close in the fair value gap, but I guess you can feel this wick, right? Build price here, and then tomorrow tank it. But it is FOMC, so there is news around 8:15. So I may get to the charts a little earlier to see how price action has been done during London. So let's see if I can wake up by 5. No, let's see. No, we are gonna wake up at 5. And yeah, just our day started at 5 and basically 6 a.m. get on the charts and just look at, what leads on to going 8:15. Again, my trading window is from 8:45 to 11, but I understand FOMC 8:15 is gonna have some news, and then there's 2 p.m. rates. So interesting how they're moving right now, right? Also, note that Tuesday's high, Monday's high, equal highs, right? Yes, we have been selling, but right, but I am liking them. I want them to unload here, right? You see how this dropped here? That's cool and everything, but I want them to at least run this low, right? Bring it lower and then spike it up if they're gonna buy it, or just bring it back up here and then tomorrow morning come into and just sell it off, So interesting. Looking at the DXY, pretty much the same thing, right? Okay, we're coming off a weekly order block, so we had that rejection, yes. yesterday. So honestly, price should continue going higher, but I am not surprised if it doesn't. Now, if we break here, right? Yeah. So I guess you can say that's a break, and we're confirming it right now. So if anything, if we eat this candle here, then you know what? Start looking for that gap fill on DXY here. So, and then leading into these two equal lows, and then eventually down to pretty much what's a nice little target has been built. Look at that, two equal lows, fair value gap, volume imbalance right there. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just tank it from there. Um, but we'll see, because I do like this bounce. I do like the beat of this order block. So 50% of this minimum, I would like for it to trade around here, and then eventually maybe um, unload above here, because you can see two equal highs, and I like how this order block, and I am not convinced that this is the high. I like highs to be in the center middle, right, before they drop. They've never, you see, like this is on the side. See how it pulls back, comes all the way back up on the side, pulls back. You get what I'm saying? Like it needs to be in the middle, at least for me, on how I look at the market. So I think I made this shit longer than it did. But yeah, episode 9. This is the recap of what's been going on. But we gotta get this shit. We got this shit, and just take it one day at a time. And then honestly, something I keep telling myself, and maybe put this in your books, mother, is basically just make it to the next day. All you have to do is make it to the next day, and once you realize that, yo, I just made it to the next day, and you just keep doing it, like, it's just going, making it to the next day. A lot of these traders don't make it to the next day, whether something happens to them physically, like, or mentally, they just like, blow accounts after accounts after accounts. So if you can be in equanimity and, detach yourself and just submit yourself to just um one trade or two trades max, and you follow your rules, like for me, you're exactly where you need to be. Wait. If the first trade hits stops and the second covers the loss, close and be at break even. Today we uh mitigated the loss that we had taken already, and then I let the rest run, because I was like, oh, we can continue selling and get more profits, but it just wasn't the case this time, right? Two trades max, focus, and then I have a fair value gap, buy side liquidity, sell side liquidity, as like areas that I look for, and then a new one I just added is 100 pips weekly, which would be 33 pips a setup, and that's really just 3 setups, and that's very, very doable. So I am going to be documenting that journey, well, not that journey, that part as well of my journey, and be consistent with it, because I know I can do it. I've done it. I'm fucking doing it. So um yeah, with that being said, I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Let's see how Jerome Powell does.